In this video, we're going to take a look at the Home tab, and we're going to look at the font group. Most of the stuff in here is pretty basic. The things you see in here are things that you see on lots of Windows applications, so most of it's pretty straightforward. Most of it's stuff you've probably done or seen before. And before you do any formatting, you have to select what it is that you want to format. I'm going to start off here by selecting the entire worksheet, which is done by clicking on this little triangle here to the left of the A and above the 1. And now any formatting I apply is going to apply to the entire spreadsheet. And the first thing I'm going to do is change the font, and the easy way to do this is type the first couple of letters. I want Verdana, and VER happens to be enough to do it, and then I can just hit enter, or if you wanted to, you go down here and you could click on it with your mouse. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, so here's where I change the font size. You can pick off the menu here, or you can type any number in there that you want to. We've got some buttons here that increase and decrease the font size. And watch what happens here when I click on increase. It goes to 11 and 12, and then it skips 13, and it skips 15, and it skips some numbers here. And if I go back the other way, it skips the same values. Now, the reason it's doing that is because these do not increase and decrease by 1 point. What they do is they increase and decrease using the values that are on this list. So 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, you're always incrementing by 1, but then it starts going by 2s for a while, and then once it gets up past 28, we've got 36, 48, and 72. So if you want something in between one of those values, you're going to have to go up here and type it in. Some other options here, we've got bold, italic, and underline, and they all have keyboard shortcuts, which will show up if you pause the mouse here for a few seconds. And these are pretty much universal. You can try these in almost any Windows application and they will work. And they're all toggles. If I type Control B right now, everything turns bold. If I type it again, it turns it off. If I do Control I or click on the italic button, everything becomes italic. If I click again, it turns off. If I do a Control U, everything gets underlined, and if I do a Control U again, the underline goes away again. And there is also a double underline option here in newer versions of Excel. It'll do a double underline. Notice though when you do underlines that it just underlines the text that's in the cell. It does not underline the entire cell. If you want something like that, you need to go to borders. Let's turn that back off again. Here's the borders button, and you'll see that we have a lot of borders here that have names. So if I refer to a border by name, you can easily find it on the list here. Let's not select the entire spreadsheet. Let's select something a little bit smaller here. Let's say I want to select the numbers right here, and I want to put a thick border around the outside. Well, there's something called Thickbox Border. If I click on that, then I have to move off to the side somewhere so I can actually see what happened. There I've got a Thickbox Border around everything. Another common option here is all borders. And if I click off of that now, you see what happened is that overrode the thick outside border, and that outside border is no longer there. It's been replaced by a thin border. So if you want thin lines, if you want all borders on the inside of your chart, but you want a thick border on the outside of your chart, what you have to do is you have to first do the inside borders, which is this one, which we just did, and then after that put a thick box border on top of it. And I didn't select my cell first because I'd moved the mouse off of there, so let's select it again and go to thick box border, and now click off of there somewhere, and there it is. There are some other options here. Let's go back and reselect this. If you don't like the defaults here, you can probably go down here to more borders, and you'll get the following dialog box, and these are the options for style over here, and you can specify the color if you want to. And let's go and pick let's pick red, for example. Now notice that when you do that, it doesn't change over here. This little box is basically your preview, and if this doesn't look red, then nothing over here is going to turn red when you get done with this command. So let's say I want to turn this line red, and this line red, and this line red, and this line red, but I want to leave the inside ones black. Just click on the lines, click on OK, and there I've got a thick red border around the outside. Let's go back in here and go to more borders. You can also change the style up here. You can change the style and the color. There are a few options here for doing diagonal lines if you want to have something be X'd out but just don't want people to be able to see what's behind it. You can do that. You've also got options here to turn everything off, just to do inside borders. So let's say that I want blue borders on the inside. Then instead of clicking on this line and then clicking on this line, that'll do both of it for me with one click. So you've got a lot of options here. You can pick a style, you can pick a color, and you can pick which specific lines you want to apply that to. Now if I click on OK, I should get a nice red border around the outside and a blue border on the inside. We've also got the fill, the paint bucket up here, that will let you specify a fill color. And most of your standard colors down here are pretty bold colors, and usually for fill you want something that's a little bit lighter than that. So you may want to come up to your theme colors here and select color for fill. But you do need to be aware of the fact that if you change your theme, that these colors are automatically going to change. The standard colors down here never change. If you go to more colors and pick a specific color that you want for a fill color, that's not going to change. It's only when you pick the, let's click on it there. So it's only when you do a theme change that you need to worry about the colors changing, and then only if you pick the color from up here. Okay. So as long as you pick your theme first and then don't go in and mess with it afterwards, you should be okay on using the fill color paint bucket. And another thing here is changing the font color. And again, you've got all of your theme colors here, which will change if you change the theme. You've got your standard colors down here, and even recent colors, so you don't have to go back and pick a color again if you want to reuse it someplace. And again, we've got more colors, which brings up this standard hexagon here with all of the options. And if that's not enough for you, you can get all 16 million colors just by clicking any place you want to over here, or adjusting the red and the green and the blue components. So click on OK, and I just turned my text green up here. And that's the font group, but there's also down here, there's this little dialog box launcher, and if I click on that, it takes me to the Format Cells dialog box, which has 6 tabs on it, but the only tab I'm really concerned about is the font tab, because that corresponds to what's in the font group here. Now the font names, the font style, the font sizes are already here, so there's no need to go to this dialog box for it. Underline is also there, although you do have a couple more choices here. Color is there. The one thing that is not there is the effects. So if you want to do strike through, superscript, or subscript for any of your text, then you have to go in here to do it. Otherwise, you don't really need this very often. You can do pretty much everything you want to just from using the font group up here on the Home Tabs ribbon. So that's the font group, and we'll take a look at some of these other formatting options in some other videos.